A guide at Get Set Up, and today we're going to talk specifically about watercolor paper. Now remember, jump in that chat and leave us some feedback and your thoughts. So let's talk about watercolor paper, shall we? There's so many brands and so many different kinds of watercolor paper out there, and it's very, very overwhelming. So let's start. We're going to start with these four right here. And we're going to start, I'm going to show you this one in a minute. We're going to start with this, medium priced. This is what I use all the time. This is great for beginners. It gives you a really great starting point for when you start watercoloring. Then let's move up to the next nicest brand. This is called Arches. Arches is a preferred paper by a lot of artists. Now, when you get to the store, you're going to see two different kinds. You're going to see a cold pressed and you're going to see a hot pressed. Hot pressed is more expensive than the cold pressed. This is all about process. This one is cheaper than this one, but they still are incredibly expensive. But let's take a look at these with paint. I'm going to paint some, leaves and stems so that we can kind of see why does this paper cost more than the other. All right, so here I have those three brands. I got a little bit of yellow on here, but that's okay, because what we're doing is we are just going to practice. So here we have the Canson, here we have the cold pressed, here we have the hot pressed. Now I can tell you if I just do the touch to these, although I don't recommend that, this has somewhat of a tooth. This has a ton of tooth. It feels so good. It's 100% cotton, by the way. This is just smooth. All right, so let's paint maybe a leaf on here just so that we can kind of get a feel for what they feel like, right? Now I have 2 cups of water here. It is very important to have 2 cups of water when you paint. One, dirty water. You can see this is already dirty. And then this one is all about clean. We want to make sure we use the clean water when we lay water into our brushes or onto our paints as well as onto our paper. So I'm going to get some plain water and I'm going to load up my brush. So I'm grabbing some of this green paint over here. Oh my goodness, that is such a beautiful green. And let's paint a leaf, shall we? Okay, I'm going to paint a stem first. Okay, this is the normal paper that I usually use. It feels really nice in my hand. It takes water really well. It takes color really well. I'm able to add a lot to this. Now, I didn't tape this paper down today. I'm not putting a whole lot of paint on it, so I don't feel like I have to tape this down. It always helps a little bit. Okay, let's add a little bit more color to this one. So I'm going to grab a little bit of this yellow over here and just add it in there. Let it do its dance. I'm going to grab a little bit of this blue. That's a little bit of that lovely blue. Just touch it in there. Watercolor paper is a lot about absorption rate. Do you have enough time to play around before it dries? The cheaper the paper, the quicker it dries, and you don't get all this time to add color. And that is what makes watercolor so fantastic. Okay, so I might want to put a little bit more yellow into that. You can add a little bit more green. No big deal. It's got a lot of water. I'm going to put that one to the side. This is our Arches cold pressed. Now I'm going to grab a paper towel real quick so I can clean out my brush. Let's do the exact same thing and see if there's a difference. So here we go with the green. Coming up. Now what I can already tell is happening with this one is the water is sitting on top just a little bit longer. What that means is it's going to give me a little bit more opportunity to play, to add that color to it, right? So it's sitting on top just a little bit better, and that just gives me some more time to add color and play, which is what's fun about watercolor. This is like a lot of the professional artists that I know use this kind of paper. We don't want to always feel so rushed when we do watercolor, and what this kind of paper does is it allows you to slow down just a little bit. So I can even see how the yellow set up on there just a little bit more so that it's staining that paper. Also look at the difference. I'm using the exact same amount of water, but look how it's sitting here and how it's sitting here. It's a little bit different. Let's grab some of that blue. Yeah, man. That looks so dry on the paper, but it is not. It just loves it. It's just taking that water. See how I can do wet on wet, and it just is beautiful. Look at that. As opposed to that, all right? This, I have a lot more time to play. Let's do this very last one. This is the hot pressed, right? Okay, gonna grab the same amount of water. Gonna scoot all this over. Now, this is very smooth, guys. This is a very smooth paper. Gonna come in here like this. Now, I will say this. I have never loved hot pressed paper, just not my cup of tea. But artists that love it, they swear by it and they love it. It is so smooth. So you're not fighting against teeth. You're not fighting against bumps. It is just smooth. It feels just like you're working on something like poster board or something, but it's watercolor paper. It's just delightful. All right. So it's pretty much the same. You just have to choose which one that you like the best and how it works. Look at that. Still able to take all my color. And it's smooth. So you can see maybe you want a painting that's got all this texture, or you want something that's incredibly smooth. That is the difference between the hot press and the cold press. And then this. I'm going to tell you, as a beginning watercolor artist, start here. Don't go to these yet until you know, hey, I am ready to move on and I'm ready to paint and spend a lot more money on these. Now, the last one, I just want to go over it really quick. And this is something great, especially if you want to go and travel as you paint, which is fabulous. This is a paper pad. And what it is you can paint on this. It's very toothy, pretty much like this. But what is fantastic about it, you don't have to tape it down. And when you are finished painting, you get something like this. And you can just come in here, push it down, go around it just like this and pull it off. So these are also really great for beginning artists, right? Because there's nothing like painting outside. It's absolutely fabulous. And you don't have to tape it down. And see, that comes up just like that. All right, and so that is just the intro to what kind of paper you should buy. Spend your money wisely, but buy good watercolor paper. Have a great day and create something beautiful.